Today to talk to you about lessons for litigators, lawyers from Game of Thrones. And of course, I'm a Game of Thrones geek. First lesson, know your strengths and weaknesses and your case's strengths and weaknesses. It may be a sympathetic witness with a compelling story as a strength. There may be a weakness, a witness with credibility problems, but you have to be aware of that, just as the characters in Game of Thrones are aware of theirs. Tyrion Lannister is a dwarf. But he realizes and says, my mind is my weapon. Other people have their sword, their warhammer. But for me, my mind is my weapon. Know your strengths. For Khal Drogo, his strength, leading a Dothraki horde as a warlord. His weakness, not knowing how to treat an infected wound. So know your strengths and be aware of your weaknesses. Now, lesson 2, establish and stick to a theme. Every case has got a theme. Nothing will alienate a jury more and lose a jury more than not being able to follow some cohesive plan. As in Game of Thrones, the various houses are known for some motto, some theme of theirs. A Lannister always pays his debt. Winter is coming. We do not so in the case of the seafaring raiders of House Greyjoy. Lesson 3, pay your dues and learn from others. No one starts out first chairing a case. You've got to crawl before you walk. You have to learn, and learn by watching others. You know, this is, again, something that's taught in Game of Thrones. Jon Snow bristles at the idea of having to be a steward, but he's told, you cannot lead if you don't first know how to follow. So pay your dues and learn. This is also seen in Arya Stark, who's now a budding young ninja assassin at the House of Black and White. But she starts out doing what? Having to wash the bodies. But soon she'll be killing people. That's a promotion in Game of Thrones. Lesson 4, wisely manage information. We're living in an information age. We're living in an age where there's information overload. You have to safeguard information, as in, encryption. You have to worry about what your clients are doing and being aware of it. In Game of Thrones, you have the wise spy master Varys and his vast spy network. You may not have that as a trial lawyer, but you certainly have tools at your disposal to manage information wisely. Lesson 5, lead by example. I still, to this day, after 25 years of trying cases, will still go out and take a meaningless deposition or attend a meaningless hearing if it means that I'm going to have that much more contact with the case. There's a saying in Game of Thrones, he who passes the sentence has to swing the sword, in the case of Eddard Stark. You lead by example. Now, another key lesson from Game of Thrones is to show, don't tell. The visual tells your story. It could be a demonstrative piece of evidence. It could be a day-in-the-life video of a plaintiff who's got spinal cord injury. And that can be so much more compelling from hearing from an economist and hours of dry testimony. In the case of Game of Thrones, as Tywin Lannister says, any man who has to say, I am king, is no true king, as he sends the king to bed without his supper. Lesson 7, focus on the war, not the battles. There's too much of a tendency now, especially in an age when we don't get to trial as often as we might like, to get caught up in the discovery skirmishes and the disputes. The only battle that matters winning is the last one. This was a lesson that Robb Stark didn't really know and appreciate too well. He was winning all of his battles, but he took his eyes off the prize. He let a key ally turn against him, and the result was being killed. In the case of Daenerys Targaryen, she patiently worked her way through Essos, working her way towards Westeros, acquiring armies, acquiring wealth, acquiring key advisors. Lesson 8, preparation is key. Prepare, prepare, prepare. I just got out of a trial in federal court. We prepared for the very worst. Fortunately, things did not turn out that way, but you want to prepare for the worst case scenario. In this case, the White Walkers are coming, or as Jon Snow would say, winter is coming. The next lesson from, okay, that's not the best Kit Harington impersonation, and I'd look nothing like him, as my wife reminds me on an almost daily basis. Lesson 9, a client's trust is hard to earn and easy to lose. This is something that every lawyer knows. We live in a what have you done for me lately type of environment. We are judged, by what we do and what we communicate, what value to a client. Here, Jorah Mormont has been one of the closest, most important advisors, yet when it's revealed that he had actually been spying on and reporting, betraying his queen, she naturally reacts poorly. Lesson 10, an attorney's word is his or her bond. Let's face it, reputation is everything. It's the hardest thing to acquire, it's the hardest thing to build, and it's the easiest thing to lose. And in terms of reputation, Jaime Lannister, outstanding warrior and swordsman, and yet, what is he still known as across all of Westeros? The Kingslayer, the person who killed the king he was sworn to protect, however justified. Reputations take forever to build and can be torn apart very quickly. Thank you very much.